The large screen in the United Nations chamber showed the stars. Then, without warning, a ship appeared. It was unlike anything humans had built, smooth, almost alive, and impossibly big. The room fell silent. Carol Baker stood straight, her blue diplomat's uniform freshly pressed. As Earth's chosen representative, she carried the hopes of 7 billion people. Her hands were steady, but her heart raced. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. Carol nodded. "Put them through." The screen changed. 3 aliens appeared. The one in the center had blue skin and 4 eyes. The creatures on either side looked very different, one covered in scales, the other seemingly made of shifting crystal. "I am High Counselor Xandar of the Galactic Concord," said the blue alien in perfect English. "We represent 27 advanced species who govern this sector of the galaxy." Carol stepped forward. "I am Carol Baker of Earth. We welcome you and hope for peaceful relations." The crystal being made a sound like tinkling bells. "Your species is young. We have watched your development with interest." "And concern," added the scaled one, its voice deep and rumbling. "Your technological growth is unusually rapid. Dangerous, even." Carol maintained her diplomatic smile. "We are eager to learn from more advanced civilizations." High Counselor Xandar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "That is why we are here, to offer Earth membership in the Concord." Whispers of excitement spread through the UN chamber. This was what they had hoped for, acceptance into the galactic community. "We are honored," Carol said. "What would this membership entail?" "Protection, guidance, limited access to certain technologies deemed safe for your development stage," Xandar explained. "Earth would become a Class 3 protectorate." Carol's smile faltered. "And what exactly is a Class 3 protectorate?" The crystal being answered. "You would have no independent military forces. Resource allocation would be managed by Concord advisors. Population growth would be regulated according to standard protocols." The room grew tense. Carol chose her words carefully. "That sounds less like membership and more like surrender." "A common misunderstanding among emerging species," said Xandar. "You see your independence as valuable. Experience has taught the Concord that guided development prevents the mistakes that have destroyed countless civilizations." Carol looked at the Earth officials behind her. General Peters shook his head slightly. President Rivera's expression was grim. "We appreciate your concern," Carol said, turning back to the screen. "But humans value self-determination. Perhaps we could discuss a more equal arrangement." The aliens exchanged glances. The scaled one made a harsh clicking sound. "There seems to be confusion," Xandar said. "This is not a negotiation. The Concord has analyzed your species thoroughly. Your history is marked by conflict and self-destruction. Your emotional responses override logic. Your stubbornness prevents efficient progress." Carol's diplomatic facade cracked. "Our stubbornness has helped us survive on a difficult planet. It's part of who we are. And that is precisely the problem," Xandar replied coldly. "We have encountered species like yours before. Without proper guidance, you pose a future threat to galactic stability." The room fell silent again, but now with tension rather than awe. "So what exactly are you saying?" Carol asked. "Earth will join the Concord as a protectorate, or we will be forced to ensure you cannot become a threat. You have 7 of your days to broadcast your acceptance." The blue alien's voice had lost all warmth. "Resistance would be inadvisable." Carol straightened her shoulders and looked directly at the aliens. "We'll consider your offer. But know this, humans don't respond well to threats. It is not a threat. It is reality." Xandar's 4 eyes narrowed. 7 days. Then we will have your answer or take necessary action." The transmission ended. The room erupted into panicked voices. Carol turned to President Rivera. "They're not here to welcome us. They're here to conquer us." The president nodded grimly. "Then what do we do?" Carol looked back at the screen, now showing only stars again. Her voice was quiet but firm. We'll see about that. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Alien ships hung in orbit, visible as bright dots in the night sky. People crowded in streets, staring upward. Some prayed, others prepared for the worst. Major Alan Wright sat alone in his office at the Pentagon, studying videos of the alien ships. For 3 days, he hadn't slept more than a few hours. Empty coffee cups littered his desk. "You need to rest," said a voice from the doorway. Alan looked up to see President Samantha Ortiz. He stood quickly. "Madam President, I didn't expect you." She waved him back to his seat and closed the door. "I need your honest assessment, Major, not what the Joint Chiefs are telling me." Alan rubbed his tired eyes. "They have us outgunned in every way. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. So surrender is our only option." "I didn't say that." Alan pulled up a file on his computer. "I've been studying everything we know about the Concorde. They've conquered hundreds of worlds, but always the same way. Overwhelming force, quick submission. No real wars." The president leaned forward. "Go on." "They don't know how to fight a prolonged conflict. They've never had to." Alan's eyes lit up with a fire that belied his exhaustion. "They expect us to break immediately. What if we don't?" President Ortiz considered this. "You're suggesting we fight even though we can't win. I'm suggesting we fight differently than they expect." Alan stood and paced the small office. "We don't need to win battles. We just need to not lose the war." 2 hours later, President Ortiz addressed the world from the White House lawn. Billions watched on screens everywhere. "Citizens of Earth, the choice before us is clear. The Galactic Concorde demands our surrender and subservience. They believe we will bow to their superior force." She paused, her gaze firm. "They don't understand that humans bend, but never break." Her words echoed across the planet. In homes and shelters, in bunkers and bases, people listened. For the first time in our history, all nations stand as one. Today, I am announcing the formation of the United Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender our home. Across the world, military forces began to move with newfound purpose. Old enemies became allies overnight. The deadline approached. At a research facility in Colorado, scientists Jack Mason and Lisa Rodriguez worked frantically. Before them lay pieces of alien technology recovered from a small scout ship that had crashed years ago. "If we can just understand how their shields work," Lisa muttered, connecting wires to a small device. Jack nodded, typing the equations into a computer. "They're not magic, just science we don't understand yet." The device hummed, then glowed with a faint blue light. A small force field appeared, weak but stable. "It works," Lisa gasped. Jack immediately reached for the phone. "Get me Major Wright. Now." The 7th day arrived. In New York, the UN building stood empty except for a single figure. Carol Baker waited in the assembly hall, alone by choice. The large screen flickered to life. "Your time has expired," said High Counselor Xandar. "What is Earth's answer?" Carol took a deep breath. "Earth respectfully declines to become a protectorate." All 4 of Xandar's eyes widened. "You cannot be serious. You understand the consequences." "We do." Carol's voice was steady. "We choose freedom, even at great cost. Your stubbornness will be your downfall." Xandar's voice hardened. "Prepare your people. The Concorde does not make idle warnings." "Neither do we," Carol replied. "If you force this war upon us, be prepared for one." The transmission cut. Carol stood alone in the vast room. Knowing that soon the skies would fill with enemy ships, she touched the small communication device in her ear. "They're coming," she said simply. At the Pentagon, Major Wright received the message. "So be it," he said softly. Then, louder to the officers around him, "Battle stations. It begins." The sky burned. Concorde ships appeared all at once, hundreds of them, above every major city on Earth. Their attack was precisely coordinated. Beams of light struck key military bases, power plants, and communication centers. In Washington, D.C., people ran screaming as buildings crumbled. Similar scenes played out in Beijing, Moscow, London, and dozens of other cities. The Concorde had begun what they called their Standard Conquest Protocol, a swift attack designed to force immediate surrender. But something unexpected happened. Earth fought back. Hidden missile launchers emerged from underground silos. Fighter jets scrambled from secret bases built inside mountains. Submarines surfaced to launch countermeasures. At Naval Station Norfolk, Commander Eric Powell watched the chaos on multiple screens. His fleet had been moved to sea days earlier, away from obvious targets. "Enemy ships entering our zone," reported his tactical officer. Powell nodded grimly. "All vessels, execute Plan Hornet." Instead of forming a traditional defensive line, Powell's ships scattered in seemingly random directions. The alien vessels followed, breaking their formation to give chase. "They're taking the bait," Powell said quietly. On his command ship, Powell studied the alien tactics. They were methodical, precise, and predictable. They fought like they'd never faced an enemy who didn't follow their rules of engagement. "Bring us around," he ordered. "Target their command vessel." His ship swung in a tight arc. 3 alien vessels moved to intercept, exactly as he'd guessed they would. They left their command ship exposed for just 7 seconds. "Fire everything." The U.S. Defiance unleashed its full arsenal. Most missiles were destroyed by alien defenses, but 2 made it through, hitting exactly where Jack Mason and Lisa Rodriguez had identified a weak point in the alien shields. The Concorde command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of blue light. "Direct hit," shouted the tactical officer. Powell allowed himself a small smile. "They want us to fight by their rules. Let's show them we don't know how to do that." On land, things were worse. Major Alan Wright coordinated defenses from a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Reports flooded in of devastated cities and massive casualties. "Seoul is gone," said an ashen-faced lieutenant. "Paris is under heavy attack." Caro reports enemy ground forces. Wright absorbed the terrible news without flinching. "What about our countermeasures?" "Working in some areas, sir. The defensive shields are holding in Detroit and Sydney." Wright nodded. The shields were weak copies of alien technology, but they were buying time. "And our special units. Engaging as planned." Across the globe, small teams of soldiers equipped with experimental weapons moved through city ruins and dense forests. They didn't try to hold ground or win battles. Instead, they struck quickly at alien weak points, then disappeared. In London, Sergeant Kelly Brown led her squad through underground tunnels. Above them, alien troops patrolled the streets. "Ready," she whispered. Her team nodded. They carried devices developed by Jack Mason, disruptors that could temporarily disable alien tech. They emerged from a manhole near where an alien ship had landed. Alien soldiers stood guard, tall beings with scaled skin who carried weapons that fired energy pulses. Kelly activated her disruptor. The aliens' weapons suddenly went dark. In the moment of confusion, her team attacked, using simple projectile weapons that required no power source. 6 aliens fell. Kelly's team grabbed one of their disabled weapons and retreated into the tunnels before reinforcements arrived. Similar scenes played out worldwide. Humans suffered terrible losses, but kept fighting in ways the Concorde couldn't predict. In orbit, Supreme Commander Stilak received disturbing reports. A command ship destroyed by primitive weapons. The tall, insectoid alien's antennae twitched in agitation. "Impossible. The humans fight." "Unusually," said his lieutenant. "They do not follow standard battle doctrine. They cannot hope to win. Their resistance is illogical." Stilak's compound eyes narrowed. "Send in the second wave. Double the attack force." "As ordered, Supreme Commander." Stilak stared at the blue planet below. "These humans will learn that resistance to the Concorde is futile. No species has ever withstood our might." What Stilak didn't know was that no species had ever been as stubborn as humans. 6 months passed. Earth was wounded but not defeated. Smoking ruins marked where great cities once stood. Millions had died, yet humans fought on with growing skill and determination. In an underground lab near what used to be Denver, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked without stopping. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her hands moved with steady precision as she connected neural wires to a helmet. "Try it now," she said to the pilot strapped in a chair beside her. Lieutenant Kyle Bennett took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The helmet lit up. On a nearby screen, symbols flashed. "I can feel it," he said softly. "It's like the ship is talking to me." Olivia nodded. That's how they control their vessels. Not with hands, but with thoughts. The captured alien ship in the hangar nearby hummed to life. Its lights pulsed in sync with Kyle's brainwaves. "Amazing," said Major Wright, watching from the doorway. "How many pilots can use this system?" 50 so far, Olivia replied. "It's painful for them at first. The neural load is intense, but humans adapt." Kyle opened his eyes, which now had a faint glow. "I found something else. Their attack patterns, they're not random. They follow strict protocols. I can see it when I'm connected." Wright leaned forward. "Explain." "It's like they're following a rulebook. Every maneuver has a counter-maneuver. Their ships have blind spots they don't even realize exist because no one's ever exploited them before." Wright smiled for the first time in months. This could change everything. Above Earth, the war continued. Concorde ships maintained orbital positions, but now they faced a new kind of opposition. Small, agile craft, human-piloted alien ships, darted among them, striking weak points then vanishing. In a battle near the moon, Commander Powell directed operations from his flagship. "Squad 3, hit the supply carrier," he ordered. "Squad 7, draw fire from the destroyer." The human pilots obeyed instantly. Unlike the Concorde ships that moved in predictable patterns, the humans moved chaotically, unpredictably. A Concorde transport vessel exploded as Squad 3 hit its engines. Squad 7 took heavy fire, but managed to expose a critical weakness in a destroyer's shields. Earth missiles found their mark. Powell didn't celebrate these small victories. He knew the overall situation remained grim. But with each passing week, human forces grew more effective, while Concorde forces seemed increasingly confused by the prolonged conflict. Deep in space, aboard the massive Concorde command station, Supreme Commander Stilak faced growing pressure. "The humans continue to resist," said High Counselor Xandar, his 4 eyes blinking with irritation. "This campaign was supposed to last days, not months." Stilak's insect-like mandibles clicked. "They fight without honor or pattern. They target supply lines rather than engaging our forces directly. It is difficult to counter." "Difficult." The crystal being beside Xandar chimed angrily. "We have lost 47 ships. The cost exceeds all projections. They will break." Stilak insisted. "No species can endure such losses. Their stubbornness defies logic, but logic always prevails." The scaled counselor rumbled deeply. "Does it? Perhaps we underestimated these humans." "Never." Stilak stood tall. "I request additional forces. Double our current fleet. We will crush them with overwhelming power." The counselors exchanged looks. Finally, Xandar nodded. "Granted, but this will be the final escalation. If Earth does not fall within 3 months, we will consider alternatives." Stilak bowed stiffly and left the chamber. In the corridor, his lieutenant waited. "The reinforcements are approved." "Yes," said Stilak, "but there is unrest among the council." "And among the troops," added the lieutenant quietly. "Some question why these humans resist what all others have accepted." Stilak's antennae twitched with anger. "They resist because they do not understand. They will learn, as all others have, that the Concorde cannot be defeated." The lieutenant said nothing, but doubt showed in his compound eyes. Back on Earth, in the remains of Paris, a child planted a flower in the rubble. Nearby, soldiers prepared for another battle. They were tired, hungry, and outnumbered, but they kept fighting. Because that's what humans do. Diana Clark moved silently through the ruins of Berlin. Once a beautiful city, now it lay half destroyed. Alien patrols passed by, not noticing the human woman hiding in shadows. Diana was not a soldier. Before the war, she had been an intelligence analyst. Now she was something more. She touched the small device on her wrist and whispered, "I'm in position." "Be careful," came the reply from her handler back at headquarters. This source might not be trustworthy. Diana didn't respond. She knew the risks. For the past month, she had been receiving strange messages through captured alien communication systems. Someone, or something, inside the Concorde wanted to talk. A soft blue light appeared around the corner. Diana tensed, hand on her weapon. Then she saw the alien. It was smaller than the others, with pale green skin that seemed to glow faintly. It was a Novan, one of the species she had never seen fighting on the front lines. "You came," the alien said in perfect English. Its voice was musical, almost like singing. "You said you had information." Diana replied cautiously. The Novan looked around nervously. "Not all of us support this war. The Concorde is not what you think." "It seems pretty clear," Diana said coldly. "You came to conquer us." "No, the Concorde conquered us first." The alien's large eyes blinked sadly. "My people, the Novan, were forced to join centuries ago. So were the Telari and the Vex. We are not allowed our own military. We must obey the ruling species." Diana's eyes widened. "You're prisoners. We'd prefer to say unwilling members." The Novan handed her a small crystal. "This contains proof. Star maps of our home systems, records of the conquest, names of others who feel as we do." Diana took the crystal carefully. "Why tell me this? Why help us?" "Because in 1,000 years, no species has fought like yours. You make us believe resistance is possible." The alien looked up at the night sky. "We want freedom too." Back at headquarters, diplomat Frank Howard studied the information from the crystal. It was real. The Concorde was not one happy family of alien species. It was an empire, with 3 dominant species controlling all others. "We can use this," Howard told Major Wright. "If we can contact these other species directly, make them allies instead of enemies." Wright nodded slowly, a diplomatic solution alongside the military one. It could work. For weeks, Frank Howard worked with Diana to establish secret communications with the Novan, Telari, and Vex. He learned their languages, their cultures, their fears. Most importantly, he offered what the Concorde never had, equality. "Join us," he told the Vex representative during a risky meeting in the ruins of Sydney. "Not as subjects, but as equals. Help us defeat the Concorde, and together we'll build something better." The Vex, tall beings with 4 arms and reflective skin, were skeptical at first. "Your species is primitive compared to ours. Why should we be equals?" "Because stubbornness counts for something," Frank replied. "And because we know that true strength comes from cooperation, not domination." The Vex considered this. Finally, their leader spoke. "We will help you, not with soldiers. We have none. But with this." He handed Frank a small device, advanced shield technology. "It will help protect your cities from orbital bombardment." Word spread quietly among the subjugated species. Small acts of sabotage began occurring on Concorde ships. Supply deliveries went missing. Communication systems failed at critical moments. Supreme Commander Stilak grew suspicious. "There is treachery among our ranks," he told his officers. "Find it and destroy it." The Concorde's internal security forces began investigating. They discovered a transmission between a Novan engineer and Earth. The engineer was publicly executed as a warning to others. Howard was devastated when he heard the news. That night, he barely escaped an assassination attempt in his quarters. Injured but alive, he made it to Wright's office. "They know," he gasped, blood seeping through his shirt. "But it's too late to stop it now. The alliance is forming. Wright helped him to a chair. Was it worth it? Howard nodded, his face pale but determined. It's not just about surviving anymore, he said. It's about winning. 2 years into the war, Earth looked different. Dome shields covered the remaining cities, glowing blue against Concord attacks. The once clean lines of human technology had merged with alien designs, creating strange but effective hybrid machines. In a lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Paul Collins made final adjustments to a new weapon. It combined human ingenuity with alien power sources in ways the Concorde had never imagined. "Will it work?" asked General Michelle Gordon, watching with arms crossed. She had risen quickly through the ranks, known for leading missions that others called impossible. Paul wiped sweat from his forehead. "In theory, yes. The power output is 5 times greater than standard Concorde weapons, but with better control." "Theory isn't good enough anymore," Michelle said, her voice firm but not unkind. "We need results." Paul nodded. 2 years of constant war had stripped away unnecessary politeness. "I'll test it today. If it works, we can equip the strike team by next week." The door opened, and Major Wright entered, now wearing general stars. "That timeline works. The Talari have finally made their move." Michelle and Paul looked up in surprise. "They've defected?" Michelle asked. Wright smiled grimly. "Completely. Their representatives announced it during a Concorde High Council meeting. Then they disabled the security systems and escaped in the confusion." "What does this mean for us?" Paul asked. "It means we finally have detailed information about the Concorde's central command station." Wright spread a holographic map on the table. "And we're going to hit it with everything we have." In orbit around Jupiter, Commander Eric Powell, now Admiral Powell, prepared the largest human fleet ever assembled. 30 ships, most of them captured and modified Concorde vessels, moved into position. Among them was the flagship Earth Hope, a hybrid vessel larger than anything humans had built before. On the bridge, Powell received the final communication from Earth. "You are authorized to proceed, Admiral," said President Ortiz, her face showing the strain of 2 years of war. "May luck be with you." Powell turned to his crew. "All ships, battle formation. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for." The fleet accelerated, heading toward a massive Concorde manufacturing hub hidden in Jupiter's shadow. This facility produced the weapons that had devastated Earth's cities. Destroying it would cripple the Concorde's ability to continue the war. In the lead assault shuttle, General Michelle Gordon briefed her strike team. 20 soldiers equipped with Paul's new weapons listened intently. "We'll have one chance," she told them. "The fleet will engage their defenses while we board the station. Plant the charges at these key points, then get out. The station's destruction should create a chain reaction." A young soldier raised his hand. "The intel says there are over 5,000 Concorde personnel on that station." Michelle nodded solemnly. "This is war. We didn't ask for it, but we will end it." The battle began suddenly and violently. Concorde ships rushed to defend the station, but Powell's fleet moved in unpredictable patterns they couldn't counter. Human pilots, neural interfaces glowing, pushed their ships to maneuvers the alien vessels couldn't match. While the space battle raged, Michelle's shuttle approached the station undetected, using technology from their Talari allies to mask their signature. They docked at an emergency airlock and cut their way inside. "Move fast," Michelle ordered as they entered the station. "We have 20 minutes." The team split into smaller groups, racing through the corridors. Alarms blared as they were spotted. Concorde security forces converged, but Paul's new weapons cut through their defenses like paper. Michelle led her group to the central power core. They planted the largest charges there, setting the timer for 15 minutes. As they turned to leave, a squad of Concorde elites blocked their path. "Surrender, humans," the lead alien demanded. Michelle raised her weapon. "That's not what we do." The firefight was brief but intense. 3 of Michelle's team fell, but the aliens were defeated. Bleeding from a wound in her shoulder, Michelle led the survivors back toward the shuttle. 5 minutes until detonation, she reported through her comm. All teams report status. One by one, the other teams confirmed success. The charges were set. The evacuation began. From the bridge of Earth Hope, Admiral Powell watched the station, knowing Michelle and her team were inside. Hold position, he ordered his fleet. Wait for the strike team. The minutes ticked by slowly. Finally, a small shuttle burst from the station, racing toward the fleet. "We're clear," Michelle's voice came through, breathless but alive. Powell allowed himself a small smile. "All ships prepare for shockwave, and someone get the general a medical team." The station exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave rippled out, catching the Concorde ships unprepared. When the light faded, the manufacturing hub was gone, leaving only debris floating in space. The destruction of the Jupiter manufacturing hub sent shockwaves through the Concorde. Not just physical ones, but political ones. 5 more species announced they would no longer fight for the Concorde. They called themselves the Free Alliance and withdrew their ships and resources. Supreme Commander Stalak raged in the Concorde's main command center. Traitors, all of them. His insect-like limbs trembled with fury. They will be punished once Earth is dealt with. High Counselor Xandar was not so confident. "The war enters its 3rd year, Commander. Our losses mount. Perhaps we should consider." "Consider what?" Hextalac interrupted. "Surrender? To primitives? Never." A Vex diplomat who had been listening spoke up. "There is no shame in peace. The humans have proven themselves worthy opponents." One alien diplomat called them the unkillable flame. No matter how often they are beaten down, they rise again. "Enough." Stalak's voice echoed through the chamber. "I will end this myself. Prepare the final assault fleet. We will strike Earth directly with everything we have. Their stubbornness will finally break against overwhelming force." On Earth, Captain Nathan Bell prepared for the most dangerous mission of the war. His ship, the U.S. Independence, was the most advanced vessel humans had ever built. It combined the best of Earth technology with systems from all 3 of their new alien allies. "The mission parameters are clear," General Wright told him. "Take your ship deep into Concorde territory, past their defenses, and broadcast this data package to all member worlds." Bell looked at the data crystal in his hand. "What's on it?" "The truth. Records provided by the Novan and Tellari showing atrocities committed by Concorde leadership. Proof that the 3 ruling species have kept the others as glorified slaves for centuries." Wright's eyes were serious. "Many in the Concorde don't know what their leaders have done. We're going to tell them." Nathan nodded. "How do we get past their defenses?" "The Vex provided stealth technology, but it won't last long once you start broadcasting. You'll need to get in, send the message, and get out quickly." "If we can," Bell said quietly. Wright placed a hand on the captain's shoulder. "I won't lie to you. This mission has a low survival probability." "I understand, sir." Bell stood straight. "We'll get it done." The U.S. Independence slipped away from Earth under cover of darkness. Its hull was unlike any ship before it, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Inside, a crew of 30 of Earth's best worked in near silence. They knew what was at stake. The journey took 2 weeks. They passed Concorde patrols undetected, moving deeper into enemy territory. Finally, they reached their target, the central communication hub that connected all Concorde worlds. "Stealth systems at maximum," reported Bell's first officer. "But once we start broadcasting, they'll detect us immediately." Bell looked at his crew. Everyone knows the risks. Everyone volunteered. "Let's make it count." He turned to his communications officer. "Begin transmission." The data package began broadcasting on all Concorde frequencies. Immediately, alarms blared as they were detected. "Concorde vessels approaching," reported the tactical officer. "A lot of them." Bell nodded. "Hold position. Continue broadcasting until the package is complete." Enemy ships surrounded them, weapons charging. The first shots hit the Independence, rocking the ship violently. "Shields holding at 60%, called an officer. Bell gripped his chair. "Stay on target." "How much longer?" 30 seconds to complete transmission. More hits rocked the ship. Panels exploded and crew members were thrown from their stations. Bell helped an injured officer back to her position. "Transmission complete," shouted the communications officer. "Get us out of here," Bell ordered. "Maximum speed." The Independence turned, engines flaring. But 3 Concorde cruisers blocked their escape route. "No way through, Captain," said the helmsman. Bell studied the tactical display. "There's always a way. Divert all power to forward shields and engines. We're going through them, not around them." The Independence surged forward, directly toward the largest enemy ship. At the last second, they fired all weapons at one spot on the enemy's hull, creating a momentary weakness. The human ship slammed through the gap, taking heavy damage, but breaking free. "Multiple hull breaches," reported an officer. "Engine damage severe." "Can we make it home?" Bell asked, blood running down his face from a head wound. The officer checked her displays. "Not likely, sir." Bell nodded. "Then we keep going as far as we can. The message is out. That's what matters." Across the Concorde, on thousands of worlds, beings of all species watched the transmitted evidence. They saw the truth of their leaders' crimes. And one by one, they began to question. Supreme Commander Stalak stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, watching as Earth grew larger on the view screen. His final assault force was the largest ever assembled by the Concorde. Over 500 warships gathered from across the galaxy. "All ships report ready, Supreme Commander," said his lieutenant. Stalak's compound eyes reflected the blue-green planet before him. "Begin the attack. No mercy. No survivors." The Concorde fleet moved forward, but before they could enter Earth's orbit, a message came through on all channels. "Supreme Commander," an officer called, his voice shaking. "You should see this." On the screen appeared a Concorde security official. "By authority of the High Council, Supreme Commander Stalak is relieved of duty. All ships are ordered to stand down immediately." Stalak stared in shock. What treachery is this? Override that transmission. Before he could say more, his own security team surrounded him, weapons raised. "You are under arrest," said the security chief. "The evidence broadcast by the human vessel has been verified. Your crimes against member species cannot be ignored." Stalak looked around wildly. "This is human deception. Can't you see?" "No," said his former lieutenant. "This is justice, long delayed." Across the Concorde fleet, similar scenes played out as officers loyal to the old regime were replaced. The massive fleet that had come to destroy Earth now hung motionless in space. On Earth, people watched the skies nervously. The Concorde fleet was visible even in daylight, hundreds of ships positioned for attack. Then, strangely, they stopped moving. In the command center, Commander Heather Russell monitored the situation. Her small fleet of 30 ships was all that stood between Earth and annihilation. "They're just sitting there," she reported to General Wright. "No movement, no attack pattern." Wright frowned. "Could be a trick. Maintain defense positions." A communication request came through on an open channel. Wright nodded to accept it. The screen showed not Stalak, but a Talari representative. "People of Earth, I bring news. Supreme Commander Stalak has been removed from power. The Concorde High Council requests immediate peace talks." A stunned silence filled the command center, broken finally by someone's choked sob of relief. Wright found his voice. "We accept, but we have conditions." 2 days later, Carol Baker once again represented Earth, this time aboard a neutral vessel positioned between the two fleets. It seemed fitting that the diplomat who had first faced the Concorde ultimatum would now negotiate the peace. Across from her sat representatives from 15 different species, including all 3 former ruling races. "The old Concorde is finished," said the Vex representative. Too much blood has been spilled because of our leader's arrogance. Carol nodded. Humanity has suffered greatly, but we don't seek revenge. We want a just peace. What do you propose? Asked the Telari diplomat. A new organization, Carol said. The Galactic Alliance, where all species have equal voice and equal rights. No masters, no servants. The negotiations lasted 3 days. Some points were contentious, but each time an impasse was reached, Carol remained firm but reasonable. Her stubbornness was matched only by her fairness. Finally, the new treaty was signed. The war that had nearly destroyed Earth was over. 1 month later, General Alan Wright and Dr. Olivia Martinez stood on a balcony overlooking what had once been Washington, D.C. The city was being rebuilt, new structures rising alongside the ruins. Above them, ships from 20 different worlds peacefully entered and left Earth's atmosphere. Trading partners now, not invaders. I never thought I'd see this day, Olivia said softly. Ellen watched a Novan ship glide past, its elegant design catching the sunset light. In the Galactic Historical Archives, they're already calling it the War of Human Stubbornness. Apparently that's how it'll be remembered. Olivia smiled. Good name for it. The Concord thought our stubbornness was primitive, Alan said, his voice thoughtful, that it made us dangerous and unpredictable. And now they're starting to understand what we always knew. He looked out at the new world being built, where humans worked alongside aliens who had once been enemies. Stubbornness kept us fighting when logic said to surrender. Stubbornness made us adapt when others would have broken. And in the end, it wasn't just stubbornness for its own sake. No, agreed Olivia. It was stubbornness in service of something greater. Freedom, dignity, hope. Ellen nodded. Turns out, that kind of stubbornness was the most advanced thing in the galaxy.